Hi, it's Christina with the Sisyphean Journal, and today we're going to talk about a less common kind of criminal abortion death, which is one in which the abortionist wasn't a doctor or other person with professional medical training, but in this case was a lay abortionist. A woman named Joy, and she married somebody whose last name was Joy, so her parents didn't name her Joy. Um, Joy was 25 years old and an employee of Pratt Union in Cunningham, Kansas. She lived with her mother, Inez, and her 6-year-old daughter, Vicky. And Joy was a former resident of Hutchinson and had graduated from Bueller High School. She had divorced Vicky's father 5 years earlier. Now, on May 26 of 1950, an ambulance driver named Phil Johnson got a call of a sick woman at the home of Annas Whitlow Brown. When Johnson arrived, he was directed through Brown's garage to the basement, where he found a woman lying on a bed in a large bedroom. She appeared to be dead. The bedspread was stained, and the woman was Joy. Johnson transported her to Grace Hospital, where she was pronounced dead on arrival. An inquest into her death was held at Johnson & Sons Funeral Home, and I'm not sure if the Johnson & Sons who own the funeral home are connected to Mr. Johnson, the ambulance driver. Deputy Sheriff Gene Schroeder and Captain John Robinson said that when they first went to Brown's home at around 9 p.m., Brown showed them a first-floor bedroom and said that this is where Joy had laid down. And the police told her they knew better, whereupon Brown led them down to the basement, where they found two bedspreads still damp from washing hanging in the utility room. And they said that Brown told them that Joy had suffered a coughing spell, so she had given the young woman a peppermint and a glass of water. Now, in Joy's purse, police found a business card for Brown that had her phone number on it, and on the back, written in pencil, was the name, address, and phone number of a nurse named Margaret Dowdy. Now, the pathologist performed an autopsy along with the coroner. They testified there were two findings. First, the examination showed a 5 months pregnancy. Second, there was evidence of instrumentation. There was evidence at an attempt of abortion. And this included some tearing of the placenta and uterine bleeding. And he believed that Joy had died from either blood loss or asphyxiation. Now, at the time of her death, Joy had been suffering from a cold, which could have been a contributing factor. Murphy noted that the abortion had been initiated, not completed. The attempt had triggered heavy bleeding, but there was no way to tell whether she had died from the blood loss or whether she had begun to vomit and choke, and that was what had caused her. However, he did conclude that whichever direct cause of death, what had triggered either the blood loss or the asphyxiation, was the abortion. A man named Frank Annette from Pratt testified that he knew Joy, who'd approached him about a month earlier, intimated that she was pregnant, and hadn't said anything about an abortion, but about a week later came to him wanting to borrow money. Now, Nurse Dowdy, who had been in practice for 35 years, testified that she had taken care of patients in her home for Brown. When asked if she knew the victim, Dowdy replied, "I'd never heard of Joy Malie Brown." She said, Joy Malie Joy. She said that when Brown referred patients to her, she identified them by their hometown. Thus, Joy was the girl from Pratt. Dowdy said she'd been told that the girl from Pratt had a daughter living in Cunningham with her grandmother. And Dowdy said that Brown had contacted her about 2 weeks earlier, then called on May 18th and said that the girl from Pratt would be coming to stay with her, Nurse Dowdy, for a few days. And on the 26th, I have to fix this. She called on the 26th. Sorry, I have to fix that. And told her that the girl from Pratt would be coming to stay with her, but then she called after about 15 minutes and said the girl was sick and had turned blue and would I come right out. And Dowdy said by the time she arrived at Brown's house, the girl from Pratt had already been taken away. Dowdy went down to the basement where Brown had a rec room, utility room, and 2 bedrooms, one of which had an attached bathroom. Mrs. Brown told me the girl had asked to use the bathroom, had a severe coughing spell, and then asked to lie down on the bed. She gasped a few times and was gone. There was a large red spot on the bed. Now, Dowdy said that while she did not specifically know why Joy was at Brown's home, she believed that it was for an abortion. When asked if she herself was an abortionist, she said, "Oh, no, I've never done an abortion. I just do the cleaning up, the aftercare." The women would stay with her for 3 or 4 days. She said, "I keep them in bed and feed them. I determine when they are ready to go." She said that the women would pay her $10 a day, and she said that the only medication she ever administered were aspirin and laxatives. She was asked if she'd call a doctor if one of the girls got sick, and Dowdy said, "I've never had that happen." Now, Brown was charged with first-degree murder in Joy's death. She remained free on $7,500 bond until the trial. Her defense asserted that Joy hadn't bled to death, but that death had resulted from a collection of mucus in her trachea. But as we discussed before, the coroner believed that even if death was caused by asphyxiation due to something in her trachea, that problem with choking was caused by the abortion. So either way, the abortion is what had killed this young woman. And Brown was convicted of manslaughter by abortion. So again, it's a rather unusual case in that it was a lay abortionist, not a doctor. And I noticed that when it was a lay abortionist, they seem to go after the case a little bit more aggressively than when it's a doctor.